Right.
Like, that was his logic.
Well, yeah.
So when we told the lawyer that it was a stolen ladder, he didn't know what the fuck to do. He fell off a house. Talk about shit luck. He fell off a house. The guy had no homeowner's insurance.
Really?
So my father became a quadriplegic, and we went on welfare.
So your dad was working for himself.
Yeah, he worked for somebody, and then he just started his own business was him.
Right.
And he would, he put up antennas for a living.
Right.
He hung, in the 70s before cable, he could hang 10 antennas a day and clear $30 for each one, so he'd make $300 a day, and we were eating,
Right. So he didn't have his own company to fall back on because
No.
it was just him. He couldn't sue
He
the
literally
ladder
fell back on
company.
nothing.
Fell back on a picnic table,
Right.
and he couldn't sue the homeowner because the homeowner didn't have insurance.
Exactly, and the disappointing look on the lawyer's face, like he was so nice to us, and then he found that out, and he's like, look, I gotta go. An Asian kid just got hit by a cab. I gotta get out of here,
So how did you afford the van? How
Well,
did you afford anything after
what do you
that?
mean?
We have to get a custom van, right?
What happened was
Not
we
a
had
custom van, but
we had it's funny. Reagan had just made all these cuts, and there wasn't a lot of help. But Medicaid allowed a certain amount of stuff, and then also I went to work. The crazy thing was I was 18 when he fell. I had to go to summer school to get out of high school. I wasn't going to college. There was no money for it anyway. My sister went to the Fashion Institute of Technology. She bartended. She put herself through school bartending. And I went to work. I took over his accounts. I actually did what he did for a couple of years until my mother would say, you got to stop climbing roofs. And then I became a longshoreman at the port in Newark. My buddy got me in there. And I helped out the family doing that. But Medicaid allowed us some money. And we also had a couple of fundraisers. And this is a crazy connection to Howard. My father turned me on to Howard. Summer of '82, he's working, and I would go to work with him sometimes. And Howard just got at NBC in New York, and he said, "You're coming to work with me tomorrow just to hear this guy on the radio. He's so fucking funny." That's what my father said to me. So I'm 13, and me and my father were listening to Howard, laughing. He loved the Howard Stern show. Matter of fact, when he was a quadriplegic, the only thing that made him laugh was Howard. We would put the show on, and he would laugh the whole time. So the job I have now, like, he would be less proud of me if I was a U.S. senator.
Right.
I mean, like the job I have now, he would be so ecstatic. And what happened was we did a big auction and had a couple of fundraisers to get a van and stuff
Right.
like that. And we asked we wrote away to a bunch of celebrities to give us stuff to auction off. The only person who answered was the Stern Show.
really?
He sent us a K-Rock jacket that
In
Howard.
1980.
This is 86.
Seven?
86. He sent us, the fundraiser would have been summer of 86. And he started at K-Rock in November of 85. But we loved him at NBC, so we were big fans.
And your dad was like, I stole the AT&T van, but we just need enough to outfit it with a wheelchair ramp.
Exactly, right. How do you steal a wheelchair ramp? So what happened was, and this is a classic Howard line, he sent us a K-Rock jacket, and Howard signed the jacket, and we auctioned that off and got good money for it. But Gary mentioned on the air what he did, and we got to dig up this tape because my cousin Joanne claims he definitely said this on the air. He said, "Gary, does this guy think if he puts the jacket on, he's going to walk again?" That's classic Howard. He does something great and then makes a joke out of it, and so there's that connection to the Stern Show.
So your dad would, freak out if he knew you were going into work with Howard Stern every morning.
I'm freaking out. It's a dream come true. I have my dream job. Like I used to listen to Gilbert Gottfried do the news with Rob.
Right.
And I would say to my buddies working construction, because I worked construction too for a while. I would say, God, I'd love to be a comedian on the Stern Show during the news like Gilbert and just laugh. And
yeah, that was always kind of my dream, too. For some reason, the news, hanging in with the news.
Right. Because you get to be funny about current events. And, you and Jimmy work so brilliant on the show. And this is an interesting thing. Not many people know this. Howard admitted on the air, you were offered the job before me.
He did.
Yeah, you were going to do it. You turned it down. Thank you, by the way.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Then Howard gave me the job because you and Jimmy were hilarious on the show because you didn't crowbar a stand-up act into the show. That's what a lot of comics try to do. Howard likes you to hang and be witty and funny, and during the news you could do it about current events. And, there was one day me, you, and Jimmy were sitting back there. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the thing about not having to crowbar in or shoehorn in a stand-up comedy act, it makes it easy when you don't have material.
Well,
You don't have to
yeah,
worry about, there's nothing to shoehorn. There's no
Right.
foot to shoehorn into the loafer.
Well, yeah, right. Well, people say to me, "Do you prepare stuff the night before?" And I'm like, "No, because that would be all that was in my head. When am I going to say this joke?"
Plus,
know.
how are you going to do that?
Well,
I
I
mean,
could-
technically, you don't really know where things are going. You have no idea where the conversation's going to end up.
Well, exactly. And here's how Howard fools you sometimes too. Like Francis Ford Coppola came in the other day.
Sure.
And everyone who listens to the show knows I know The Godfather by heart.
Right.
So I figured Coppola's coming in. I prepared a scene in case Howard said, "Do any scene." And I know the whole movie, but I did the scene in my head that I know the best. It's the scene where all the families are together and like he's like, is vengeance gonna bring your son back to you, or mine to me? Like, so I prepare that.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, sure enough, Howard's gonna let me do a scene, but he says to Coppola,
Hold on, is that Talia Shire? I haven't seen the movie.
no, that was actually Abe Vigoda.
Okay.
So all you saw was 3.
Yeah, all I saw 3, but I loved the shit out of it. And I said, you could never do better than this, so I didn't want to be ruined by
You know what I,
watching
you
the
know what I
first
say to
2.
people? If you buy the Godfather trilogy, watch 1 and 2 and do coke off of 3.
Yeah, and then load it into a trap and get out a shotgun.
So anyway, so Howard, of course, goes to me, and I'm ready to do the scene. But the twist that Howard always puts on it, he says to Coppola, "Francis, you pick any scene from The Godfather, and Artie will do it verbatim." And he picked the scene where Michael goes in and tells Carlo he wants to know how Carlo had Sonny killed. And it took me a little while, but I got it. I did it almost verbatim. And then I missed one part that I corrected, and Coppola started out looking pissed off because I'm only the 9 millionth asshole to quote The Godfather to him. But on the Stern Show, and Howard asked, he tolerated it, and at the end he actually applauded.
And
I got it right.
well, what happens with the guys like Coppola is he wants to come in and plug whatever he wants to come in and plug.
Right.
Like it's the Monica Lewinsky syndrome, which is she wants to talk about her handbags and
Right.
you want to talk about sucking cock.
Cigars up your twat.
Right.
No, well,
So she's like, well, in May we're coming out with a new line that's priced in. So what did it feel like to be raped with a Cuban?
that's the rape by a Cuban.
No.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you what
know,
that's like.
And that's the whole thing. Like, whenever someone comes on the show that's sort of like that, is the publicist will go,
Yeah.
please limit the talk to, or let's try to focus on, but who the fuck wants to hear about what you're doing now?
Well,
we want to talk about what you did then.
The greatest story ever is Fred Gwynne, who played Herman Munster.
Sure.
He was one of these actors who also painted. He wanted to come on the show, and he told Gary, no questions about the Munsters. I just want to
Right.
talk about my art.
Right.
And Howard actually thought Gary was kidding, but a publicist made, so he said, no, I'm not having him come in. And that led to one of the greatest Stuttering John moments of all time.